Hi everyone, good evening, greetings from Hanover. This is Stephanie Butler. I am an Assistant Director of Admissions here at Tuck, and so looking forward to talking to you today a little bit about what it's like to be a student here. And of course, I have some wonderful students with me who will be able to share their firsthand experiences. So it's spring in Hanover. We're experiencing a mixed bag of weather. Second year students are thinking about graduating. Everyone is wrapping up their term. First year projects are in full force. So we have plenty to discuss today. I'll kick it off by asking all of the students to introduce themselves. Maybe a brief background on where you're from as well.
Sure, so ladies go first.
Ladies first. Kick us off, Maria.
So, my name is Maria. I'm originally from Moscow, but last 15 years I've been living in Paris, and I've been working in BNP Paribas Global Transaction Banking as a client project director. And what else to say? I'm also a fitness instructor. I've got my certificate and I've been giving classes for the last year or so, and really excited to be here.
Right, so my name is Carolyn. I'm originally from the Netherlands. Prior to Tuck, I worked at Bain & Company. Apart from the Netherlands, I also lived in many other European countries, including Sweden, Belgium, Germany, Switzerland, and Kosovo.
I can't beat that. My name is Martina. I'm originally from Italy, lived in Germany for a couple of years, and then I moved to Boston. I lived in Boston for 2 years prior to Tuck. I worked for Deloitte for 7 years in their advisory group, and I'm here at Tuck with my husband and our little dog.
My name is John Bor, originally from Hungary, but I went to undergrad at UC Santa Barbara, and after graduation I started my career in San Francisco. I worked for PwC and Ernst & Young before coming to Tuck. I'm excited to be here right now.
Great. So I'll do a couple quick sort of down the line questions that I think it's nice to hear everyone's perspective on. Thinking back to a year or 2 years ago when you were in our viewers' shoes, why did you choose Tuck? What was it about Tuck? Why, maybe taking a step back and thinking about why you decided to pursue your MBA, and then from there, why Tuck was the choice for you? Maria, do you want to get started again?
Yay! So it's a really good question, and it helps you to reflect back on what was going on there. And for me, why I chose Tuck, the most important thing was the size of the school. I didn't want to be a small fish in a big pond, and I wanted as much attention as possible from the teachers, from the community, from the alumni. I really was looking to leverage these resources to foster my learning and my career. The second thing I was thinking about was the absolutely unparalleled, amazing community that we have here. And this community is comprised not only of students, but also of faculty members of other schools like Thayer School of Engineering. It is so multifaceted, and it's an amazing opportunity to learn from everyone and to contribute back. You know, this is a really positive flywheel that attracted me immediately, and I must say that it totally delivered on this promise. And the third thing, I'm a city girl, so I wanted a different experience. I wanted to be able to focus on my studies and to have this ability to enjoy the outdoors that I didn't have for the last X years of my life. So this is also an amazing place. Hanover is in the middle of, I think, one of the most beautiful spots around the Connecticut River. So definitely worth a while for hiking, mountain biking, skiing, name it, they have it here.
Yeah, I think Maria covered most of all of our reasons already. But first, why MBA? For me, it was definitely, I have a master in international relations, worked at Bain & Company for a couple of years, but felt I needed more of a formal business education. And then why Tuck? For me, it was also the size and then also the location. And location also because of it being in Hanover, I felt that nobody knows anyone here, which means that also the American students don't know anyone. And that means that it's very easy for international students to integrate into the wider community rather than being your own international community, because you can't go and hang out with your work friends who you already know in New York or Boston on the weekends. And then location also, I'm a triathlete, so I love training here. It's the best training opportunity ever.
For me, similar reasons. As I said, I worked for Deloitte Advisory before TAC, and I was looking to transition into the corporate world, into basically working for those clients I was serving, but in a different industry. And TAC has such a strong general management approach. That was one of the things that really drew me to the school. No matter what classes we go through, if we have finance, marketing, we always look at it from the perspective of a general manager, of a CEO, and kind of understand the ramification on the entire company. And that was the type of thinking, strategic thinking that I wanted to acquire. And then from a personal perspective, touch on, this is nothing new probably, but I came here with my husband, as I said, so I was really looking for a place where we could both grow together. Now he almost knows more people than I do. He's fully integrated in the community, and so this was gonna be for us a great place to be. And then ultimately, most of the top 10 schools are gonna get you an interview with the companies you want to interview with. So given that is kind of a baseline, for me it really came down to the experience. I wanted to look back 10, 20, 30 years to this time and remember it as a time where I had great experiences rather than a necessary evil to get the next job, to get to the next level. And so far, I second what Maria said. It delivered on everything and so much more.
Just adding on to the reasons why an MBA, one of the best advices I have received if you are thinking about an MBA, and because just natural curiosity, and you think in the future you would keep thinking about it, then you're better off clearing that slate clean and actually do it. And this was one of the reasons, for sure it was not the main reason I'm doing an MBA, but this was a great advice I received. And then about why TAC, I've had a couple of friends who either went to Dartmouth or had a family friend at Dartmouth or TAC, and they all said, oh, if you're considering applying, you should definitely apply. And I didn't realize until I came and visited during the interview how cool of a place it is. It just really, as we touched on the community already, you feel in a completely different world, a bubble that is super cohesive, and I immediately fell in love when I visited it.
And to your point, I would highly encourage that you come and visit, and not just come and visit TUC, but also visit other programs that you might be interested in, so you have an understanding of how they differ and what each might be able to offer you, and also how you personally would fit within that community. And TUC, just a quick plug, if you are able to come to the United States and make that trip, we do have an open applicant-initiated interview process, so we highly encourage you to initiate your own interview. This guarantees yourself time in front of an admissions representative, in addition to being able to explore the school for your own benefit. So I'd highly encourage, I hope to see many of you on campus in the fall and the winter. So thinking about TUC, your TUC experience, and I'm sure you have many other categories, but I'm going to think about it today in sort of three primary buckets, being academics, careers, and extracurriculars, or kind of living and learning outside of the classroom. Starting, you talked about size, many of you did, and one of the benefits to being a smaller program is the opportunity to take part and impact many different clubs and organizations. So can you talk to me a little bit about what you are involved in outside of the classroom and what your roles are there? Martina, I know you are looking forward to a couple leadership positions as a second year. Do you want to?
I can kick it off. So for my first year, for the first couple of months especially, I try to get involved with as many things as possible, get my feet wet, understand what I like, what I don't like, what are areas where I can add value, what are things that I'm passionate about. And especially at the beginning, I was very much on the receiving end of a lot of great work put on by the second years, the administration, the school in general. So it's been amazing, but after a couple of months like that, I really realized I wanted to focus on something and find really meaningful ways to give back to the community. So for myself, I decided to focus on three main things. One would be to be the leader of one of the clubs, and I was selected to be the co-chair of the General Management Club, which I'm really excited about. Secondly, I will be a DIVCO co-chair. DIVCO is our diversity conference. It's one of the largest student-organized conferences that takes place in the fall here on campus. And we're just starting to plan for the next one that's going to happen next November. So lots of exciting things going on in the next couple of months. And then third, and it's a thing that's really unique to TAC, I had the opportunity to work as a reverse board fellows and be put on as a board member on a local not-for-profit organization in the broader community. This was something that I was really looking forward to doing, because TAC is this magic place up in a valley, but I didn't want to live in the bubble of the school. To me, it's really important to reach out and be more involved with the broader community. And so I'm really looking forward to serving on a local not-for-profit.
So similar to your work with Revers, Martina, Carolyn, you are going to be a fellow for the Center for Business, Government, and Society. So can you explain a little bit what that's like to be a fellow at one of our research and initiatives, and what opportunities that affords you?
Sure. So there's many different centers at TAC. Center for Business, Society, Government, and Society is only one of them. You also have a Center for Digital Strategies and a couple of others. And what fellows do, they're second year students, so I'm going into being a fellow. And it gives you an opportunity to interact a bit more with faculty, to attend seminars, to do an independent study in an area. And for me, coming from an international relations background, having worked in the private sector and now kind of being able to combine that as being a fellow is a really exciting opportunity.
Yeah, absolutely. And Jean-Bois, I'm going to go to you next because you participated in Dartmouth water polo. And so one of the questions, and Martina, you touched on this a little bit, but you know, what are the opportunities that you might be able to get involved outside of TUC or outside of Dartmouth? And so what was that like? How did you get involved there?
So yes, first of all, there are a lot of opportunities just in the Upper Valley, so where Dartmouth is located, in terms of getting involved with a lot of extracurricular clubs. And me personally, I played water polo competitively in Hungary and in the States. And I knew that there was a Dartmouth water polo club. And fortunately, I didn't have to use any of my eligibility to play because I couldn't have, because I used it all in undergrad. So I joined the club and I practiced with them every single day during fall quarter in both years. I was both the captain and the assistant coach. And we were traveling every weekend to the New England colleges. Amazing experience. And what I'd like to emphasize with this is that you will have time, if you'd like, to other things as well, despite of the fact that the fall A, fall B, or even second year, it's not just a cruise, but it's actually a tough, immersive program. But if you want, you will have the opportunity to do extracurricular things.
And I should mention, all of these students have so much more that they're involved in that we're just not delving into. I think they all, have a list of about 5 different activities that they participate in regularly. But
How
Maria,
could I forget that I started to play hockey, which is something I never thought I would do in my life. Caroline and I were actually on the same. She was the good one. I was the bad one. But there's just so many things to do.
Yeah.
That it's.
Yeah, hockey is actually, and I'm going to come back to you, Maria, because I have something I'd like to hear from you, but hockey is such an interesting sort of metaphor almost for what you are doing. You are coming to Tuck, to Hanover, to any MBA program, a little bit uncertain and a little bit unsure of maybe what you're going to do in the future or what, you know, the next 2 years might hold. And at Tuck, it's very much, you know, you very much rely on the community. And so the tripod, they call it tripod because your third leg is your stick. So tripod hockey kind of symbolizes that you are relying on others. Even if you fall, you'll get back up and people will be there to help you along the way. And so that's kind of symbolic, I think, of the entire Tuck experience. But Maria, you, I know, are a big fan of Tuck's small group dinners, which is a tradition here at Tuck. Can you tell us what those are all about?
Sure. So basically we have here a tradition of gathering together in small groups, and this is sponsored by the students, that the students are receiving small dinners at their places. They open their houses, and that's also a sign of an open community. And we are spending time together. We're discovering different styles of kitchen because there's so many different nationalities here. This is a totally amazing way to get to know your classmates, because when you're in a small dinner, usually these are 6 to 8 people, you can actually sit down and have a more meaningful and profound discussion, and that's where the bonds are actually made on a completely different level. And I think this is great that we're also always welcoming partners, because here we have a lot of partners, and actually my husband and Martina's husband are big friends and are playing hockey together. So it's a great way to see how we are inclusive and how we are looking to get to know each other. And also I think there are small dinners also with the faculty. I also did that. I love cooking. I think at some point I'll get a restaurant to open after an MBA. And this is like your token and appreciation for the community that you're, you know, opening your house and helping people to discover themselves better.
Yeah, absolutely. Switching gears a little bit, I'd love to talk to you about careers and recruiting. That is, you know, the primary reason people choose to pursue their MBA, whether it's career advancement or making a career switch. So let's talk a little bit about that, maybe starting broadly. What sort of resources did Tuck make available to you during the career search? And I know a couple of you, I'm assuming, did more of an off-campus recruiting process, and some had more of a traditional on-campus process. So feel free to dive in.
I can start. Being a second year,
Yeah.
I've gone through both of the years recruiting process. So in the first year, recruiting picks up pretty quickly if you are doing one of the traditional routes, be it consulting or investment banking. If you are not, then you have more time to feel out the landscape and get a feel of what's out there and potentially recruit even in the spring. The big resource that I actually really enjoyed at Tuck is all the companies are coming on campus before the direct recruiting process, so the interviews, and you get to sit in, hear their presentation. And what I really enjoyed, because at the beginning of my MBA, I thought I would just explore. I come to business school to explore my career opportunities. And the more events you go to, the more feel you get how excited you are about those industries or about those companies. So I would highly recommend actually exploring and talking to a lot of people, listening to these presentations, and see if you feel excited. Your heart is starting to beat heavier when you are talking to certain employers. And the CDO is also helpful in terms of reaching out the alumni network. If you have specified or focused your interest down, then they are able to connect you with people who you can talk to and get more information. So I found those resources specifically valuable.
I can second that very, very much. One of the things I was surprised about, coming from Europe where we have a slightly different recruiting timeline, I was surprised I finally got into TAC, I just finished my application, got in, and then 2 weeks after you're in, you need to start thinking applying again for your internship. I was exploring a little bit what areas I wanted to get into. I knew I did not want to do consulting. I knew I did not want to do banking. That was really helpful. But that left me with a lot of other things open. So like Vince said, I just started going to these company events. Mostly they take place over lunchtime, so that's perfect. You just go there, grab a sandwich, and listen to a company representative. And I just try to absorb like a sponge all possible information about companies, and then the ones that I was more interested in, I started reaching out to. Definitely the importance of networking and talking to people at the companies cannot be emphasized enough. Some other resources that the Career Development Office also was very helpful in setting up. Basically every week there was some event going on about how to network, how to talk to these companies, how to research. I wanted to look into general management, but what is general management? What different sort of avenues are there into that type of career? And so throughout the entire recruiting process, there's a lot of support. A third support that's really important, other than the events that are organized by companies and by the CDO, is what clubs can do. We have so many clubs, and I mostly must thank the second years for all the work and the passion and the energy that they put into helping us first years figure things out and be really well prepared for these interviews and for these applications.
And I'm just going to interrupt really quick, and Maria and Caroline, please chime in as well. But would you also be willing to share where you're headed, either full-time after TAC or this summer? So circling back.
Yes, I'm actually joining an investment fund. It's between a private equity and a lending platform that focuses on mining projects around the world, so in the base and precious metal space. Really excited about that opportunity. I actually spent my internship there, and I really enjoyed it, so I'm going back full-time.
I'm going to be going to Microsoft for the summer, so out on the West Coast, very different environment. And well, I hope I like it, and I hope they like me. We'll see if I recruit again next year.
I'm a bit of a special case. I am going to rejoin my old company after my MBA, so I'm going back to Bain & Company. And for the summer, I'm going to be somewhere in the West, either in Denver or in Park City, training for an Ironman mainly.
Wow, that's awesome.
That's definitely impressive. Go, Carolyn.
On my side, I will be going to Amazon, changing completely my career path. I'm going to be a product manager there, so going with Martina to Seattle, and hope that I like it. If I don't, I still can go back to my company. So it's really more an exploration path for me. We'll see how it works out.
Yeah, and that's always an okay way to think about that internship, as a way to test the waters a little bit. Just a couple notes that I want to add on to some of the things that you said, and feel free to jump in again if you have examples that might highlight some of this. But you talked a lot about the opportunities to get to know companies a little bit through networking sessions and presentations on campus. And one of the things that's really unique and advantageous about TUC's location here in Hanover is that these companies, these executives, these returning alumni are, yes, coming to maybe give a larger presentation, but they are also unable to jump on a plane right away or head back to work right away. So they stay in TUC, and most of the time they thoroughly enjoy doing so. They stay in Hanover. They host small group lunches, dinners, potentially individual office hours, but it gives you an opportunity to access these executives and these alums and get to know them, hear from them on a more intimate level. So I think that's a really incredible perk about being here in Hanover. There's certainly no shortage of opportunities.
And if I can add up on this one, because I think many schools will offer you this kind of events, office hours. For me, what was most meaningful was how responsive our alumni were. I sent out, like, let's say the ratio is like 10 out of 9 will reply. And when I say 10 out of 9, people replied, the worldwide head of corporate banking of Bank of America replies, the director of a division of Amazon replies. I mean, it doesn't matter where they are in the organization, they always find time to speak with you. And these conversations are really meaningful because they give you these insights about the company's culture, where you're going, the team you're looking to integrate. And these are interactions I valued most. And this is what I think Tug gave me, this opportunity to, even when I got my internship, the company is big. How can I know where to go? What is interesting about it? Well, you reach out to alumni. All of them found 20 to 30 minutes to speak with me on the phone and to give their professional and personal advice. So I think this is really a great differentiator of Tug's culture.
I would agree, and I would also suggest that that's something that you are able to start testing right now. Reach out to students. Tuck offers a program called Tuck Connections, which will connect you with a student or an alum. Student club leadership, you can find, or soon will find, the leadership is transitioning, but Martina and others who are leading clubs next year, their email addresses are on the website for this purpose. Reach out to our European ambassadors. Reach out to people within your company, or just find on LinkedIn. Start testing these networks. What's true now, will likely be true in the future as well. And then the final thing I wanted to quickly mention about careers is someone talked about the assistance and the support that second-year students give, particularly as first year, because they came from that particular industry or interned there over the summer. So a lot of that comes with interview prep and all that good stuff. Another thing that's really can be impactful for people is a career trek. So this is something that Tuck starts to offer even before you matriculate in August. So hit the ground running by visiting, learning about companies in technology or energy or marketing. I don't know if any of you participated in a career track, but they go sort of all over the United States, and there's also international tracks to visit companies and alumni as well. So,
yeah, adding to that, those trips are all over the year, throughout the year as well, not only beforehand. So I had the pleasure to lead the VC venture capital track in the Bay Area last year, and I know that the first year class just did that too, but there are technology tracks, there are consulting tracks throughout the year, so there are a lot of opportunities.
And if there's a track you would like to see and it's not offered, there's so much opportunity to make it happen. I think this year we added 2 or 3 tracks out of the initiative of students that were really interested in a certain area or certain companies. We just get the beauty of such a small school is that if you see something you would like to change, you are empowered and you get the resources and the support to do it.
Yeah, and to the point of students helping other students, I've spent quite a couple of days helping my fellow first years prepping for their consulting interviews, which was actually really fun to do because you get to know so many people on a different level, and everybody is more than willing to help you through that process, which I think is great.
Yeah, Carolyn, would you say that is sort of reflective of Tuck's entire culture as far as being a very collaborative program and atmosphere as opposed to one that's fueled by competition?
Yeah, I think so. I think if you look at how people approach, for example, the consulting recruiting, you see that everybody is in there together and everybody is helping each other by setting up small case groups or coming to talk to me in groups of 4 rather than keeping their resources for themselves because that one person might take your spot at the consulting company. And that's something I've not seen at all. Everybody's just excited for there being as many Tuckies as possible in those companies.
Definitely. And when you go for an interview, you're usually together, and it's such a great thing to have a friendly hug, before you go there, instead of this steel look, some encouragement. So yeah, it definitely helps you to perform better during the interview.
Yeah, wonderful, good. So I talked about 3 buckets, and so we've kind of neared the academic part of this conversation. What resources at Tuck? I know, Maria, you and I were actually having a long conversation prior to this about the core curriculum and how valuable that's been for you. So do you want to kick us off? Not to put you on the spot, but I know it's been a valuable piece of this experience.
Definitely. If I have to say something, so I was when I was in your shoes, I was hesitating on what type of curriculum I want to go for. Do I want a flexible curriculum? Do I want a really more rigorous experience? And, reflecting back, what I have to say is that I'm so happy that I took this kind of rigorous curriculum, because when you come in here, everything is new, you're overwhelmed, and there are so many choices. And these, I would say, first 3-4 months are fundamental in your preparation, because this is where you're going to get your knowledge for the interview. And I think what Tuck does really in its own unique way is that it gives this holistic perspective of each concept. For example, you're learning something in statistics, and then you're applying it in decision-making science and in marketing. So when you're going to do your interview, you're capable to have a knowledgeable conversation about this concept on the business level, not only on the academic level. And this is achieved through this really very well structured, very well thought curriculum that allows everyone to succeed, not only bankers or consultants. It's really making a very well-rounded knowledgeable business person out of you.
Yeah, absolutely. And so as kind of the flip side of that, Jean-Bor, you have had the opportunity to not only go through the more structured core curriculum, but also the second year is entirely elective. So how did you find that those sort of complemented each other and helped you?
I was impressed by the supply of elective courses, despite of the fact that because of the smaller faculty, we don't have as specialized courses, let's say, in finance as Columbia. But in opposite, all the courses are super interesting, and when I got to the point where I had to take the electives, I actually couldn't take all of them that were interesting to me because there are just too many. So don't be afraid of having not enough electives for your interests, because I usually pick the courses by interest and ratings and professors and whatever is going to be applicable to me in my future career, and there are plenty of those courses.
And I was impressed by how the professors, you really get to know them. There's so many opportunities even outside of the classroom. I just went to India during spring break with a professor. We did an India trek and got to know him better as well. But I was impressed by how much the professors think about their classes and how to continuously improve them, how to bring on new classes, how to change their teaching methods to respond to the feedback they receive over the years. And this is world-class faculty. Some of our professors have advised presidents of the United States, CEO of corporations, and so they know what they're doing. And yet I find they're so humble and so willing to provide us with the best experience ever, that they're constantly striving to improve. And that was something that I thought was really amazing.
That is amazing. Carolyn, since we haven't heard from you, I'm going to pick on you a little bit. Can you talk about your study group experience and how that impacted you, perhaps, especially during the rigorous fall term?
Yeah, so study groups are groups of 5 to 6 students, which you get kind of put together with in a very deliberate manner, so that there's many people from different perspectives. So in my group, we had 2 internationals, and for Americans, people from different backgrounds, consulting, Teach for America, sales. And what that meant is that we could guide each other through all the different courses, and they really became my group to fall back on during Fall A and Fall B. We would meet literally every single day, so you get to know these people very well. And what was really fun to see is that I might be able to help somebody in one course, but then the other people might be able to help me in the other course. So you're learning all together. And like my Fall A study group, I still see them, I still hang out with them, and it's really great to have that set of core people at TUC.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Any last thoughts on academic or careers?
So I'll add on the core curriculum. You can pass out some courses if you'd like. I don't know. I think there are advantages and disadvantages. So the advantages are you are taking the same courses as everybody else. You are going to be on the same level. You get to know everybody. You are moving with your class, and you have the opportunity, if you know that subject really well, you can tutor the other classmates of yours. So there are a lot of advantages of actually sticking through with the core curriculum rather than electing out some of the courses.
Yes, and I think that the core curriculum, like right now, by complete chance, I'm having this operations class and managerial accounting together, which is an amazing blend, and it's a completely random thing. And I think I wish there were more like pairings, like wine and cheese, so that no matter what goes together. So it's really great, and core takes this off the edge of your mind and really helps you, to have this pairing kind of a set menu, which is
the
pretty
prefix
successful.
menu.
Exactly, an absolutely successful menu.
That's great. So I guess taking a step back and thinking broadly, now that you've been here for almost a full academic year, first years, and Jean-Bor, certainly you've had some experience to reflect. Is there anything about TUC that surprised you?
It exceeded my expectations, to be absolutely honest. When we speak about cohesivity and such a tight community, it's easy to just drop those lines in any environment, I feel like. And you go through a recruiting process, for example, at your employer, and they will tell you, oh yes, we are very good in this aspect and this aspect. But I didn't really realize that when I came to TUC, it is just a completely immersive experience. You're living with your classmates, basically, because most of the people are living on campus in the first year. You do the exact same activities. You get to know everybody by name by probably the end of winter quarter, and most of them you know really well. And that is not true probably 80-90% of the other MBA programs out there. So that definitely surprised me, but it also impressed me. I felt like it was an amazing experience.
I also definitely underestimated how much I was learning about myself. I came here thinking I knew myself pretty well because I just had written my MBA application essay, so I thought about what I wanted in life. But after spending a year here and actually thinking about it for a year, things are much clearer, and I have a much clearer career path, and I'm really happy about that, but also definitely surprised.
Mm-hmm.
I think I want to build on your reflection. I came here and I thought, I was in banking, doing client facing. I'm so good at networking. Yeah. And coming here to TUC actually took it to a completely different level. I would say I learned to really network with anyone, and it gave me such a courage, because these positive experiences you get with alumni, finally, I don't know, it's so liberating. And right now we're working on our first year project with a leading company in consumer product goods. And, I have no problem reaching out to whatever professor, to different people I find on LinkedIn. that gives you such a liberating experience because you have this positive bias, you know, that you got from the alumni. And that helps you to be successful in your career, in your projects, and even, I think, beyond. So really wonderful, and thank you to Tuck alumni who gave this kind of platform.
And I imagine you're speaking broadly of Tuck alumni in general, but we also, before the cameras turned on, we're talking about Francis and Olivier. And so as European students, while there are fewer alumni in Europe than there are in America, you know, I hope that you found them to be incredibly strong, that their strength outweighed the smaller numbers.
Definitely. For me, Francis, well, I've met him and he found time to have lunch with me. He really reached out regularly after I joined the program, you know, wondering, do I need any support in finding internship? Do I need any advice on how to advance my process? So it's amazing how people are working on that. And also within my organization at BNP Paribas, we're having some alums actually in Asia, French alums in Asia, and people just keep pinging you, keep asking you, do you need any help? Are you set with your internship? How can we help you? This is really like something I appreciate, and I definitely didn't know how much value it brings before I joined Talk.
Yeah, wonderful. Good. All right, I just want to do a quick check-in to see if there are any questions that you have on your mind out there in the audience that we might address for a few minutes, because I could go on forever and ever.
I have just a few questions I'd like to ask Stephanie. One being, as you know, a huge concern for most all international students is it's visas, sponsorships, all the uncertainties there, and you know, that's a unique concern for that audience. Do you have any words of wisdom there, or any advice as to how our Career Center or other resources at Tuck help folks with the job search? I guess this might be leaning towards a U.S. job search, but students are also always interested in those who want to return to their home countries. Any words of wisdom or advice on those topics?
Yeah, so maybe just to start, for your summer internship, there is no problem at all working in the US because you have what they call CPT, which is fractional training. So there's no company who has to sponsor you. You can just go to any US company. As for after Tuck, I think the CDO is really well in helping you finding companies who will sponsor you and will help you through the process. But in the end, H-1B remains the H-1B process.
Which is challenging across business schools and higher education in general. And, you know, it's not just a Tuck problem. Unfortunately, it's something that we're all, you know, challenging or finding challenging.
And I think it's also a choice when you're going for US. I'm recruiting for US based companies coming from Europe. So yes, I will be honest, the choice is not as big as for the American students or the green card holders. But it's also, you have to be wise about it. You have to choose a company, I think, that sponsors you, but also that in case the H-1B process doesn't go well, has something to offer to you. That's a mutually beneficial relationship. So for myself, I was looking at companies who definitely were open to speak about H-1B, and if it goes bad, what happens? So it's a discussion you can actually have with alums, and they say how they used to process these cases. And also, if you are a foreigner and you're recruiting for department of your own company here in United States, there are some different visas and programs you can use for those. So this is not H-1B visas; they're different visas. So that there is also a benefit joining the company. I don't know, BNP Paribas in the United States for me, for example.
Right, yeah, so thinking about those multinational companies where you might be able to move offices if need be.
Exactly. It's a lottery after all, right?
Right. Okay, you take your chances. Any other thoughts, comments, or?
One thing that I was surprised about was that the information is the CDO does a really good job at making it very clear what job postings are open to international students or would support a visa and which companies do not sponsor visas. So it really helps. It's not information that you have to spend a lot of time looking for. it's right there for you. You can talk also to the second years that got sponsored and sort of narrow down from the beginning who those companies are that you might want to focus your energies on. Additionally, though, having companies come to TAC because they know what TAC students can do and what they bring to the team and to the company. And so I've heard it more than once that a company was here. They said, we do not sponsor visas, but as they do the presentation and their cocktail hour or their reception, people approach them and ask them, and they're actually open to say, well, our policy is not to sponsor H-1B visas, but why don't we keep talking? Because a lot of times they may be willing to make exceptions to their policy because of the value that they see in TAC students, or they might help you find some job in their international locations.
Wonderful. Sarah, any, or I can take it over again?
Yeah, just a couple more, I think,
Sure.
from the audience. This great question. TUC represents a school that truly underlines the importance of self-reflection and diversity. Glad to hear that somebody thinks that. In the spirit of evolving as a professional and as a human being, could each of you share something that you feel you have learned from your peer students?
That was so articulate, and I love that question. I'm going to steal it for next time. Yeah.
Ooh, so much. I guess
That's stars. Heavy.
to me, I think I probably put it even in my application essay how I wanted to be, work with great people, but I don't think I really understood what the caliber of my fellow students was until I came here. It's that you work, side by side with people that have amazing experience, that have accomplished so many things in life, and not just in business, but also in other spheres of life, that you can learn so much from them. Personally, one thing that I was surprised was how much I'm learning from people that come from a military background. It was a word I was never very exposed to. And the examples of humble but strong and decisive leadership that I've seen from classmates that have a military background, the way they speak, the way they motivate people, the way they focus and engage, was something that I was not anticipating experiencing, and it's something that I'm eagerly trying to learn every day.
I think for me, it's not so much one specific person or one specific story, but the days I've spent hiking with my classmates or going to cabin nights and just talking to people for hours and hours on a mountain because there's not much else to do, has learned me so much. And I think that is one of the most valuable things about TUC and its location, is that you do have the opportunity to regularly go outside and actually talk to people and really get to a deeper level with them.
I can share a specific example, actually. We have an emotional intelligence test at the end of our first year, and we get a score based on 4 aspects. And I cannot name the aspects right now, but I know that I have a really high dominance, which means that in groups, if I have a strong opinion about something, I'd like to carry it through. And we actually got grouped in groups of 5 with a similar emotional intelligence style, and we had to solve a survival issue, and as all of us had very high dominance in the group, we could hardly get to a final decision. And when we got to it, we got the result, we realized that we both actually would have died in that situation. So it was not that good. And then from there, we learned how to cope with those situations. And if you have, like, let's say, a high dominance, how you have to behave or mitigate that within a group. So that's just one specific example, but we do quite a bit of tests, emotional intelligence, or we get evaluated by our first year group members at the end of the first year. So there are a lot of opportunities for self-exploration.
I've heard from recruiters or from the CDO recruiters via the CDO, the Career Development Office, that Tuck students, if you graduate from a top MBA program, you're going to have a certain skill set, but Tuck students always come through as far as teamwork and collaboration. They're able to work with people who are very different from themselves. And I never thought about it this way, but as Jean-Bor just described, also people who are very similar to themselves. So just those opportunities to interact and collaborate are really neat.
One final question,
Sure.
maybe, before your
Yeah.
final questions or wrap up. This is actually probably more for you.
Okay.
We know that it's difficult for international students to come visit us on campus. So I know you mentioned a few things before, but is there anything else you could share, how they could show their interest in Tuck or how they could learn more about us?
Definitely. So Tuck, as an admissions staff, we travel to Europe, usually in the fall. We'll start our travel season sort of in earnest in August, and it'll run through October. Last year, I was lucky enough, I truly felt so blessed to get to go to several countries across Europe last fall. So that's a wonderful opportunity to talk to someone from the admissions staff. In most locations, I had Tuck alums there with me to talk about their experiences in the program. So keep an eye on our travel calendar, which is posted on Tuck's website under the admissions tab. Sometimes that might be sort of a large MBA fair. Sometimes it is a reception. Oftentimes it's sort of a small coffee chat where we're able to really discuss and get to know each other a little bit better. So that's a wonderful opportunity to meet with someone from Tuck right within your neighborhood. Sometimes students do that as well. Caroline and Jean-Bor have hosted coffee chats for us. Actually, Jean-Bor, you were in Asia, I believe, when you hosted yours.
Yes.
We're a very global group, but Caroline was in Amsterdam or Rotterdam.
I was in Amsterdam and in Antwerp.
Yes,
Yeah.
So look out for those opportunities. Also, online events like this. So we will continue hosting webinars with various topics of discussion, online chats, just to sort of, fire in your questions, and we'll answer as fast as our fingers will allow. The Tuck 360 MBA blog is a great, follow us on social media. So there are a lot of digital ways that you can stay in touch. Always feel like you have the opportunity to reach out to whether it's myself or a colleague in admissions or one of the students. I mentioned our ambassador program earlier. Please take advantage of this. It's listed under student clubs on the website. And so we have ambassadors from each region, including Europe, of course. And so please utilize them as you continue through this application process. Good. And so now it's my final question. There's so much I could ask you, but this seems like an appropriate wrap up. So likely the people who are listening now are, just either, kind of in the middle of thinking about their MBA application or maybe just getting started. So I'm hoping to apply either in the fall or perhaps the winter. So what advice would you give them if you could go back in time and put yourself in their shoes, knowing what you do now? What would your advice be?
I think definitely take the opportunity to talk to Tuck alums as students. I did it as well. I went to a coffee chat in Amsterdam. I talked to alums in Amsterdam. And I think those were some of the most insightful experiences for me, because it really helped me to get a feel for the school and really helped me to decide what I wanted to get out of an MBA and how Tuck fitted with that for me.
Absolutely.
Yeah. It might seem a little bit trivial, but really be yourself. The schools you're looking at, Tuck and others, are all amazing schools, amazing programs. At first I thought that I had to fit what the schools were looking for, but our admission staffs and the admission staffs are really experienced. So really try to look inside, be who you are, try to, like Caroline said, understand the school, and if there's a matching if there's some overlapping, then that there's likely a good place for you to apply to and just bring to light who you are and what you're bringing to the table.
I'll echo that. It's so much more compelling than trying to sort of fit some mold.
Also for me, it was visiting the school and also visiting the class. It tells you so much more. And when you're at the class, I was not only looking at the professor, because you're likely not to have the case that they're talking about, but look at the students. How do they interact? How do they interact with the professor? Are they engaged? How do they interact among each other? So that helped me to get, understanding of the class dynamics. And these observations speak so much louder than whatever we find on the website, because you're confronted with the reality. Mm-hmm. And I also incite people, after you go to an event and you interact with alumni, try to get his business card and to have a one-on-one discussion, because sometimes people are uncomfortable sharing something in public. So having this one-on-one discussion may unveil some of the deeper, cultural roots of school, which will really, kind of say, yes, that's the place for me. So invest as much as possible into research, be in the field to do this research. Secondary research is great, but primary research is also important. So it's a big decision in your life. Don't make it just on the blog or because somebody said it, experience it yourself.
And lastly, I would say don't hesitate. There's always a dilemma about, is an MBA worth it or not? Well, take the GMAT, apply, and if you get in, you can talk to people and see if it is worth it or not. But I feel like at the beginning, just do it. Take the GMAT and apply.
And take it maybe sooner rather than later, so you're not so anxious when it comes to interviews and essay writing, would be my advice from professional opinion. But thank you so much to our students. You guys were wonderful. I hope it was as compelling to you as it was to me. I always learn something new when I do these chats. So, I truly hope that this is just the beginning of a very long conversation that you are going to have with Tuck, with the admissions office, and the rest of the community. So don't hesitate to reach out. I look forward to connecting with many of you in the future, in person or online, in Europe or in Hanover. Either one, very much looking forward to it. And good luck as the process continues.